This is Damon Tenen with the Get Your GED Now test preparation series. And the first thing I want to tell you is that I am using an innovative app that allows me to record the screen of my iPhone. And so I'm actually answering a question from a student from one of my practice quizzes, and am able to do this now on the iPhone, and then with that recording, get that recording up to YouTube or directly to the student. And so anyway, you're going to see some different things on my screen as I work through. But the question here is a common question that we may see on the GED test, and a question that is basically calling upon us to use the Pythagorean theorem. And I'm going to kind of move this around here a little bit so we can see the question. But the question here says, Kevin lives in Murphy and works in Rolf's Bluff. Okay, so there's Murphy and there's Rolf's Bluff. If he gives his friend James, who lives in Oak Hill, a ride to work, how much longer will his drive be in miles? So the question is, how much longer will his drive be in miles? So he lives in Murphy, he goes down to Oak Hill, and he goes over to Rolf's Bluff, picking up his buddy. But if he goes on his own, he's just straight from Murphy to Rolf's Bluff. So what that question is calling upon us to do is to identify the fact that we know how to use the Pythagorean theorem here. So on the Pythagorean theorem, this side is, let me see here, A or B, and this side here is A or B. It doesn't matter, but this side here is always C. And so when we set up our Pythagorean theorem, we need to be sure that we put these values in the right space. So I'm going to bring that up here just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my pen back here. And so let me go ahead and go with the black ink here. And so we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And on the 2014 GED test, you're going to be expected to bring that knowledge with you to the test. That's not going to be one of the formulas that they give you. And so just for A, we're going to go ahead and plug in 18. And for B, we're going to plug in 26. And for C, that's what we're looking at. And so let me go back and scroll up so we can see what we're doing here. So if we go back up to our triangle, we can see that you have side A and side B, or B and A. It doesn't matter because we're just going to add the values anyhow. But the slope, the C, is always that slope value there. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and get my pen back. And so 18 squared is 324, 26 squared is 676, and that is equal to c squared. So you add those two together and you get 1000 is equal to c squared. So if c squared equals 1000, then just plain old c equals the square root of 1000. The square root of 1000 is 31.6, and I've already worked out these numbers ahead of time, so don't think I have these rolling off the tip of my tongue here. So we're going to scroll the screen up a little bit so we can see a little bit more and write a little bit more. And so 31.16, we're just going to round that to 32. So we're going to say the distance, we're going to scroll that back up here and get our pen back and get a little different color for emphasis. So the distance is 32. So when Kevin just drives straight from Murphy down to Rolf's Bluff, the distance is 32. Now when he picks up his buddy James, there's a difference. So he has to go 18 miles down to Oakville, then he has to go another 26 miles from Oakville to Rolf's Bluff. So we're going to scroll back down here and bring a little more space here. So we know, get that, so we know 18 plus 26 equals 44. So when he picks up James, it's 44 miles. But the question asks, how much longer is his drive? So 44 minus 32, which is his drive when he goes by himself, is 12. So then the answer to the question would be 12 more miles of a drive when he picks up his friend James. So again, on the GED test, these are the kinds of questions that you're going to see. These are the kinds of applications of what I call basic shape measurement that you're going to see. Now, the key here to this problem on the GED test is that we do a lot of work here. And so the question, which is very key here, and get a different color for emphasis, the question is, how much longer will his drive be in miles? So one of the things that happens on the GED test is we're working through and doing all this work, and we land on down here at 32, not the answer. I'm going to abbreviate that. Because what happens is we do all this work and we get down to 32 and we think it's the answer. But we always have to make sure that we are always square on the answer. Right here is that's the question that we're trying to answer, is how much longer. So what we found in this problem is we had, even though we did all that work and got down here to 32, we found out that we had more work to do. We had to add 18 plus 26 to get 44, which was the distance when he drives James, and then we had to subtract his regular distance from that distance with giving his friend James a ride to find how much longer. Again, this is Damon Tennant with the Get Your GED Now test preparation series.